Hey everyone, thanks for joining. In this video, I'll be talking about Sugoroku Guide. It's also known as a treasure and trapdoor, so I'll be calling them with both of those names. This part one of the video will be about the basics of TNT mode. So TNT is a new play mode that we'll be receiving soon in DQT. In this video, as I said, we'll be covering the basics. What you can expect from me as a follow-up video is the first one. I'll be talking about law of elements and what's that got to do with TNT. The law of elements governs what elements units are appropriate from element and resistance perspective for each of the TNT stages, but I'll talk about that in the next video. And then once we receive the TNT mode, I'll probably be up there doing an updated guide for it. Now, usual disclaimer, all of this information is forward-looking statement based on DQTJP, but additionally, please be cautioned that this is really based on my early research and my current understanding and best thinking. I might not be right on all of the points, but I thought this will be useful for some of you who wants to prepare for it. Once the play mode starts, I should have a better view of what units are recommended for each of these stages. And then, of course, keen to know if you what you think of it, or if you notice any mistakes, etc. Please do put them in a comment. That's super helpful for myself and hopefully for the audience as well. Okay, without further ado, let's talk about the TNT mode. So TNT mode, also known as Sugoroku, is a new play mode that's going to be available in DQT Global. The rewards are absolutely great. There's like gems, also a new equipment type. Also, by very small chance, but you can get an S rank select ticket, which runs up to Darkonium minus the DQ10 units so far in JP. I don't know what we're going to get, but quite recent units, let's say. In terms of TNT mode, there are some battles as you would expect, and it's a little bit like a AOB battle where you need to prepare a lot of units, roughly, broadly speaking, around up to 40 units to be safe side. Now, these units are not your typical PVE friend units like Solo, Erdrick. Of course, they'll be useful as well, but there are other specific S and also A rank units that are appropriate for these stages. Um, the TNT mode works in very much like a normal tile crawler and like a board game that you can expect. So you roll dice, try to hit the goal. When you hit the goal with exact roll, so you can't roll like say 6 when you are 2 squares away, then you're going to be 4 squares away. But if you do roll 2 and you're 2 squares away, that's when you enter the bonus stage. And there's pre-mentioned gems and S tickets and all these good rewards are really hidden behind the bonus stages. So what that means is if you're unlucky with your dice, then you kind of walk away with very little rewards like gold only, etc. Now, this is just more of my recommendation or caution, and it's a little bit contradictory to the purpose of this video, but I kind of recommend if you can't be bothered to learn about TNT mode before it gets launched, I'll just wait. It's quite a lot of info here, lots to learn. So if you want to be lazy and wait for the game, I think that's actually the best way to learn it, just to play it, right? So this video really is for people who want to understand TNT right before the start so that they can have a head start in the game. Also, I've really hyped up the TNT mode throughout my videos and in the Discord, etc. But having heard the recent kind of feedback from the community, I would just caution that you manage your expectations. Let's say, like, oh, you're finding the DQT a little bit of drag right now and hoping TNT is the kind of the panacea because I love PVE. Well, that might be the case, but it may not be. So just be really don't have a high hopes for TNT. It is quite a time-consuming game mode, as I understand, and it has some faults like super RNG. So with the roll your dice, you can end up with very little rewards. it's very tedious to do each run, so it takes a long time. So those been upsetting some Japanese players, some been loving it. So it's one of these things you're gonna either love it or hate it. But it feels like it's not for everyone. Um, Either case, you might be thinking, okay, I'm a bit lazy to learn about TNT, but I don't want to miss out on the opportunity that at the time we want to use this time we got. Then the best recommendation I've got is just prepare the right units. And in terms of knowing which units are right and on a need to know basis, I'm hoping to do another video to explain those units together with the law of elements, as I put it, which is actually a basis of what you need to know to judge whether a unit is appropriate for a TNT stage. Anyway, this is quite, this I can cover that in the next video. Okay, let's look at the basic information of TNT. So TNT mode is available throughout, but it requires one TNT token to enter. It looks like this. You get minimum of 2 from a weekly mission. Also get a bunch of them from early on from login rewards, and you can buy them from a cash. You can also just also to note the cap for these tickets are 20, so you cannot stack like say 99 tickets and do it all run. You don't want to do that anyway, but just be cautioned that you can only save up to 20 tokens. After that, you will lose them unless you use them. In the TNT mode, there are 3 selectable stages. Bravas, Whirlwind, Pacuso, and yes, for those of you who are who've been playing DQT long enough, recognize those are associated stage names for story quest, as we see in DQT. And each of these stages come with 3 difficulty. I think it's normal, hard, and very hard or something. But anyway, 3 hard. So and these are all different stages altogether. They don't share tiles. So essentially, there are 9 stages altogether. When you enter any of these stages, you enter the game with 10 dice, and you try to reach the goal, as I mentioned, with you have to roll exactly. And then some tiles you can pick up the dice as well, or you lose a dice as well. But it's in essence, 10 is all you start with. How do you win and lose? So I'll explain to you that how you win is collect the rewards from the right tiles, go to the bonus stage, etc. But how do you lose? So the way you can lose is, first of all, when you run out of dice, and then also when you lose a battle. I'll explain about the battle later. You also lose. If you stop on the pitfall tile, then you also instantly lose. And this is an obvious one, but if you press abandon, you lose. And when you come back to the game after, say, a reboot, and then you press, don't want to continue, then you also lose. This is obviously a trivial one. So how do these stages differ? So each stage has, as I said, a different kind of tiles and a map. But also they have 2 main different things. So first of all is that they have different rewards. And also they have a tendency for weaknesses of enemies. So for example, Bravos, a lot of enemies are weak to bang. And of course, all monsters are units, apart from likes of Diamond Slime, has 2 weaknesses. So it's bang and something else. In terms of reward, it's these new accessory types. They are really, really strong. For example, of this ring, it provides agility for entire team. Is one of your units equipping it? So it's really, really strong unit accessory, and you want to be farming for those. Now, in terms of the elements, one thing I didn't mention is that when you hit enemy with a brilliant damage, then it does 30% element increased element damage. So ideally you want to be going to Bravos with a lot of bang units and Freys and Zam for the other stages and so on and so forth. But furthermore, what's actually more important is enemies will be doing also 30% more element damage. What that means is you should be mindful more about also about resistance. So say, for example, Bravos, you look at, okay, so enemies are weak to bang, and you think, okay, I'm going to bring Baramos. Unfortunately, Baramos is not very good for this stage because it has a bad, element fit, or it's not appropriate in resistance wise. It's not appropriate. So I'll explain all of that in the next video. But what this means is that there are a certain a pool of S and A rank units will be appropriate for each of these stages more than some of the S rank. For an example, A ranks are better than some of the S ranks, for example. And these selection are actually ones, could come as a surprise because some of them you would never, never use them or never use them these days. Example being Dragon Lore being useful in these TNT. I think it's also be, to understand what units and to bring for these stages. I think you need to understand the basic of lore of elements that we have in DQT. So I'll be covering that in next video. So in terms of the battles, what is it like? How do you enter the battle? So the battle occurs when you land on the tiles you see on this left. And then on some of these tiles, it's actually only by a chance that you encounter a battle. So you may or may not encounter a battle when you land on plain, woods, and mountains. But at the bottom two, when you land on these, it's a guaranteed fight. And also, when you enter the fight, the positioning of allies and enemies are not known. And in fact, you don't actually know what enemies you're fighting. So it's a totally random fight that you have to plan every time. The rewards for these battles are actually a bit underwhelming. It's only a goal, but it quite can accumulate to be quite larger chunks. So gold alone, you might say is a good reward, but I would say considering the time it takes, it's a bit underwhelming if you just walk away with gold. The opponents gets tougher as you go down the list. So in mountains, it's harder than plains, for example. And one of the toughest tiles at the bottom will have some S rank units as well as these bosses from each of the event themed bosses. So Bravos will see Ladclim, for example, and so forth. Now I'm just showing you the example of layout. So if you are in what a particular fight, you might find yourself all your allies centered around the middle. But in some fights, your ally positioning might be all scattered. You can change the positioning of who to put in which tile, but as you can see, they are all spread out. So, young Terry probably be inefficient in this stage. In fact, on most of the TNT stages for that reason. Um, Also, in terms of enemy, you don't know what enemies you're fighting until you enter. So all you know is that you are gonna get gold, and also the enemies are weak to phrase. I don't think there is any exceptions to this, but of course you don't know what the enemy's second weakness is, and you don't know what abilities or elements of abilities they're gonna be using. This is why the law of elements comes to play, but I'll explain that in next video. Now, this is just a little bit of data for your screen grab, but each of these stages have different recommended CP, indicative HP I could find on here. So as you can see, some of the hard fights, you need to tank a lot of hits from enemy while you do a lot of damage to the enemy. So that's why I would say what element resistance your team has is more important than your attacking element, and that's the difficult part that you need to really be mindful of. The rewards, as I said, is mostly gold, but in these last two tiles, this one you get one extra roll of dice, and in this one, if you beat the boss, you get 25 S rank accessories. I've also, kind of put a team guide requirements like, don't bring your best units in the planes because they're easy, and then what to prepare for the harder stage. Like if, for example, the boss actually is a fix, so you know who you're fighting. So I think it's recommended that you save a team that's built around and beating, say, Radcliffe, for example. Now, these are example of the stage the map. As you can see, this is where the start. So it's sorry, it's a little bit small, but this is where you start, and this is where you get to. The different paths you can take, and you can take a detour to collect other items, etc. For example, there are two chest boxes in each of the floor, I think. And then what you can collect from these is like 30,000 gold and 10 fragment, beast fragment in the Brava stage. Obviously, these chest boxes you can only collect once. And other tiles you see, say, move one, more dice, a typical of what you expect from like a board game. Once you hit the goal with exact roll of dice, then you enter into bonus stage, and then bonus stage starts here. But in this case, it's quite just a simple round. You go around. There's no alternative paths, etc. And what you start to see in this stage is a more improved rewards. Like this one's a mini medal, and you see these wardrobes. You get I think gold or accessories. And then there's a roulette. I explained about roulette, but this is where you can get the gems and the special tickets. So this is the kind of, I would say, the main reward outside the accessories. But yeah, when you go around and you hit these kind of fountain of light, then you also move on to another bonus stage. So you move on to, until you move on to the third bonus stage, you can go no further. As you go down, you see more and more of these pink roulettes. Obviously, these are because they are better rewards. But in the last stage, you will start seeing, the very hard Malini square and also this boss square. In this particular square, you'll see a lad claim where you have to fight him. And this box, for example, contains 900 gems. So the rewards get a lot better as you go further down. I talked about the roulette. So roulette is kind of full of gems, and you can get up to 1,000 gems. But also, if you're lucky enough to see this and hit this one, then you get the select ticket. The select ticket includes everything up to Togami plus the Iconium in JPKs. Don't know what's going to happen for global because they swapped around Darkonium and DQ10 event. But yeah, any quite recent unit, I would just say. And this is just an example of rewards. So this is probably a good run. Some gems, new accessories, mini medal, and so on and so forth. So that's it for the basics. If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, I welcome all of those in the chat. Please let me know. And if you have any questions as well, I'm happy to answer them as well. So please put them in the comments. If you haven't done already, please do like and subscribe. It's a tremendous help for me to keep making these videos. And thanks again for watching.